boom, 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 boom. Shake it up, baby girl. Shake it up, shake it up. Da-doom. I'm gonna make a morning shake, and I'm gonna make it for T.A. Tim.
Like with blueberries and bananas and stuff?
Yeah, blueberries, bananas, artificial flavoring. I have huge, giant pallets of artificial flavoring.
I've heard that's not good for you, though.
It's good for me because it tastes great.
Well, I have a blender in the kitchen if you...
Yeah, I'll come by later today. We'll make some artificially flavored smoothies and drinks.
All right, that's good stuff. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Investing Bros, where I guess we make shakes now. And
we like to shake it up.
That'd be delicious. What if we made that a tradition, T-Shirt, that you brought shakes in every morning and we had some shakes?
I think that'd be a good idea, Tim.
Hey, listen. Sometimes you gotta get excited and the voice gets into higher decibels. We got an interesting show for you guys this morning. Changing it up a little bit. The title has nothing to do with crypto. We will be talking about crypto though. Just now, here a couple, 30 minutes ago, we had the job reports come out, or the unemployment rates rather come out. And we're going to talk about what that means. They came out lower at 3.4%, which should be bullish, and we'll explain a little bit more why. But the prices of Bitcoin and other cryptos are moving in the opposite direction. They're going down. Why is that? We will talk about that and a lot more. But the bigger stories of the day is yesterday we did have the reports of Q4 earnings from some of the biggest tech industries like Amazon and Google and Apple, and they were not what people were hoping. Could that be something that maybe halts this rally that we were starting out to have another push for? Could we see that come to an end just because of those earnings? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more today. If you guys are excited for today's show, go ahead and smash that like button. Yes, that's that four-fingered mitten right below us. It's a little bit light on news today when it comes to the crypto world. We have a couple stories we're definitely going to cover, but it's going to be a show, I think, T-Shirt. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's Friday. It's the last show of the week. It's February 3rd. We're going to send you guys off into an amazing weekend, and we're going to have some fun. So watch for us to engage with chat just a little bit more. If you guys want to give us some super chats or anything, we can answer any questions you want. But it's not necessarily going to be this boom, 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 boom show. We got to get to this story, this story, this story. We got a lot of freedom today. And if you guys enjoy that, it's going to be a fun show. For all of our Discord members, speaking of, they know when we do our live AMAs, chaos is the expectation. Hopefully.
From Tim.
All right. Now.
Exclusively.
Okay. Well,
I try to keep him on the rails.
Let the records reflect. If you were in yesterday's AMA, you tell us who was the one that was being chaotic yesterday. Maybe there'll be a little bit of that in this show. We will see. T-Shroom, you've spoken a couple times now, and that's okay. How are you doing this morning?
Wow, Tim. I'm doing really, really great, and I've got an excellent investing-centered quote of the day. Let's go ahead and check it out.
Let's see.
It's actually more of a personal finance, so let's check it out. Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. And that comes to you from no one other than Benjamin Franklin himself. Big Benny. And with those kind of quotes, those are the kind of deep-seated wisdoms that you need in order to make it on the $100 bill for the greatest country in the United States.
Yeah.
Tim, do you think you're up for the challenge? Do you think maybe a Mars colony will be trading currencies with your face on it?
Absolutely. In fact, I think that currently that's already in the works.
Okay.
And you just spoiled it. We were going to save that till next week to announce. So there you go.
Big rough ski.
Spoiler of the day.
Well, something a little bit more nearsighted, a little bit more in the present, something that we will release in 2023. Not a trip to Mars just yet. An Investing Bros sponsored trip to Mars, giving away some scholarships for 2030.
Really?
2070. I mean, I was getting my dates mixed up.
Yeah, mixed up.
But today we are going, or this weekend. What time? Probably Saturday 6 o'clock. Saturday 4 o'clock. We will be releasing our first trading challenge video that involves some of our canine friends.
I don't know. Why don't we just put it out at let's put it out at noon. Let people sleep in the morning, and then wake up and get to watch that video.
I'll give you guys a sneak peek of the thumbnail really quick.
Yes.
And a little bit of the title. Boom. Oh, you gotta look quick. You had to look quick. That's all I'm going to show you.
It's almost like there's a pause button worked into YouTube that someone could utilize.
Nobody uses that. So one thing you need to remember right now is if you go down in the description and set up a Patreon account and get access to our Discord, which Tim's got a big announcement for you about that, about the Discord.
Yeah.
You will have access to the early experience of the trading video that may or may not involve 2 little furry canine friends. And that's going to be a lot of fun.
Right, so there was a lot there. It definitely involves 2 little furry canine friends. What he's talking about is, in case you guys had tuned out for the last couple of days, completely fine. I'll get over it. I cried a little bit because I missed you. But we now have free access to Discord. If you go to that description down below, you can get in there and get in our general chat. We had a lot of good stuff going on over there. Our members are growing. If you want to get into the deeper ones, some premium technical analysis channels, if you want to get in some higher chats, you definitely can join our Patreon, which is also in that description down below. We had a couple new members there too. We had 2 yesterday, but I'll save that when we get to our special shout outs for our Patreon members and our Discord members. But yeah, so if you guys want to be joining the community, make sure you go join our Discord right there. Let's go ahead and before I read names and then we jump in and do some technical analysis and then we get on with the show. T-Shroom, any stories, any other headlines people should be looking forward to towards the end of today's show?
There are a lot of stories you should be looking for. I'll give you a taste, a smattering.
Yeah, a little taste.
So we've got a quote, we've got a take from Ray Dalio, who's one of our favorite investors and like really high level thinkers about the world of finance and markets.
Is he one of our favorites?
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Good, okay.
Logan Paul is mixing some things up. He's getting involved. He's got his thumbs in too many pies. We're gonna be mentioning a little bit of that. Russia, one of Russia's banks is introducing, taking a step into crypto, and it's not in a good way that you'd want. Not a surprise there. And then this Ethereum layer 2 is popping off, and there's a pretty big tweet from them, and we're going to be getting into all that in the stream today. So it's going to be a lot of really, really good stuff.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and join in with our community. Let's say hello to a couple people. I want to start off with 2 very special new Patreon members that we have. Whoa. Joe Nickel and John Connell. Thank you so much. They are just new members over there at Patreon, so they get some really cool stuff in our Discord. A third one I'm going to shout out for today. Let's go with Justin Eubanks. Shout out to you guys. Love seeing you in there over on Discord, and thank you for your guys' support. Let's read some YouTube names, though, and see who is here. Yair Navarro was once again the first commenter of the day, saying happy Friday, everybody. Curtis Rourke is also in chat here. There we go. Flizek. Again, I don't know. Has he told us the correct pronunciation of that yet? No. So for now, it's Flizek. Let's see who else. Henry C. Hernandez is here. Cryptex, one of our moderators and main guy over in Discord, is here. Grand Roofing Incorporated, good to see you here. Servando Estrada, Mark Stone, Crypto JMP, Mr. Bitcoin, Pashas, Max PP, Soz Majid. Ooh, or is it, yeah, I'm going to say Majid, because Mayid, is it Mayid or Majid? So's. Amello Fellow is here. Justin Eubanks just gave him a special shout out as well. Eric Wallen is here. Love seeing Eric. He was in our little, by the way, for all of our gold members of Patreon, they get to be in the Friday planning meeting show. That was we
just wrapped that up. That was a lot of fun.
It was a little different today, but it was. I hope it was good. Crypto Trades is here. Bob Saucy, Elo Brown, Steve Shrum, and last one, V Slim. Shout out to all of you guys in chat. If I didn't read your name, that does not mean I don't love you. It just means it's time to go ahead and move on with the show. So thank you so much for joining us. If this is your first time, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Today's a little bit more of a relaxed day. We're not necessarily on this timetable. We got to crunch and get through things. We're about to jump into some technical analysis. Then we're going to cover some stock information. Then we'll jump into those news and engage with you guys in the chat. So if you're excited, go ahead and smash that 4-fingered mitten right below. And let's go ahead, T-Shroom. Let's go over and start with our bubbles. More of a red day. We've had green bubbles recently. Today's a red one. The biggest loser of the day is AVAX. Maybe we'll take a quick look at AVAX. But, of course, I think AVAX was the biggest gainer yesterday. Let's look at the weekly chart. Yeah, so AVAX probably was the biggest gainer because on the weekly chart, it's still the biggest gainer. But daily, it's our biggest loser of the day. Some big ones that are going up, though. DOT is up 2.7%. Algo up 2.3%. Binance is up 1%. And Atom 0.8%. So it's not all negative on the day just yet. Let's even look at the last hour.
Nope.
It is red in the last hour, though. So, crypto is definitely getting just a little bit of a push. Let's take a look at Bitcoin's chart. And starting out here on the daily chart, we are moving down to the downside. We got another red day started today, sitting at 23,300. Before we move on, and we're going to kind of cover why it is we're coming down, I want to remind you guys something we talked about the other day when we had Army Piper here on the Super Guest Wednesday. I want you guys to remember some zones he was talking about. This bottom zone at 22.5 and the upper zone about 23.9. Now, yes, we did pump through here yesterday. We did get above it, get above 24,000. That was really exciting. However, we didn't close above it. So as long as we're still closing candles in this green, you see these green lines, there's not necessarily anything to freak out about just yet. We knew that even though the market was going to respond one way or another, I think we really got surprised by what Jerome Powell ended up doing, being kind of dovish more than hawkish. And I think people are using this time to kind of decide what they want to do and respond to some other things as well. I'm still expecting a move to the upside. I still think we break through 24,000 with candle body closes on the daily chart. I think we head towards 25.2 and then we get another decision point. Do we want to break through 25.2 and start heading towards 28, or do we end up stopping right there? But for right now, as we're still trading in this zone, don't freak out just yet. Probably the main reason, I'm going to come back to Bitcoin in just a second, but one of the main reasons why I do think that Bitcoin is falling this morning and other cryptos are falling this morning is probably because of what we're seeing happen over here on the Dixie. Now, you guys who have been watching the show here for a while know we've been talking about how the Dixie's been falling now for a while. Actually, we hit our peak back here in September, just a couple of months ago. A zone that I'm watching, we did break key support the other day right there at 101. And I was telling you guys, hey, watch out for this next fixed range volume profile level. And I think there's also a golden pocket here on Dixie down at $98. But we've been pumping over the last 2 days. And even this morning, as we got that job, the unemployment rate this morning, we've been pumping since then. And I don't know if you guys were to go down and look at let's see, we've had that now for 2 half-hour candles. Let's look at the last 2 half-hour candles here on the Dixie. So this is what happened right after that job report came out. This is the more recent half-hour. Same thing, if I were to go back over to Bitcoin, we got a little bit of a dump right as that news was released. And that can be confusing for a couple people because some people might remember a couple months ago where that type of news release, the job market being that strong, would have given Jerome Powell a lot of freedom to keep raising rates. Here's the reason, though, why it is bullish and why this candle going up is a little confusing at the moment, or at least the candle going down on Bitcoin is a little confusing, is now that Jerome Powell and the Fed are closer to their end goal of that 5.1% interest rate, he's not looking for an excuse to just raise interest rates like crazy. It's actually a sign of strength that we're getting to a place where we want to be to help control inflation, but yet the job market is still so strong. So if anyone was confused on that, like, hey, should we be responding bullish or bearish to this news? Technically speaking, we should be responding bullish, even though at the moment we're looking red on the daily chart so far. Got a lot of hours left in the day, though, so don't give up just yet.
That's true.
Let's go back to Dixie, though. Let's go back out to our daily chart. Here's some other things that I'm going to keep my eyes on when I'm looking at the Dixie. Let me pull up my Fibonacci levels all the way back here that we had in May of 2021. So I'm going to match those levels, those lows. Let's go to that peak that we had. Right now, we are back to wrestling with the 0.5 level. I think there's actually a decent chance, especially if this momentum continues, that we could break through and keep going to the upside. That's like I was talking about, this golden pocket right here down at $98. I'm still keeping my eyes there. But I think a level that is interesting to me is going back to this level, and I don't even need Fibonacci to show you guys. I think it would be interesting to see if the dollar, the Dixie, goes back to 103 and 31 cents. And here's the reason why. Is because even though we're moving green right now, we're still in a downtrend on the Dixie. We are still sitting lower highs and lower lows. But something we've done here a couple times is we come back up to former support. Like, for example, right here. Back in November, we fell down to 105. Then we kept falling. And when we retrace back up, we end up hitting our heads right at that same level, 105 and 6 cents. So same thing here. When we dropped down here to 103 and 22 cents, I kind of put a marker there. Hey, this is another level of resistance above us. If we keep rallying here on the Dixie, I would not be surprised if we break through this level, this 0.5 level at 102, and we head all the way back up and do the same thing we did back here in January, where we hit our heads, we turn former support into resistance. I still think $98 is a price level to watch, but it might take a couple weeks before we actually get that level. So keep your eyes on the Dixie and what is happening there. Let me pull up fixed range volume profile. I'll just look at, we'll go back about that far. Let's see if there's anything significant happening right here. So yeah, this little mark right here was a valley. That's where we're kind of hovering right now. So we're kind of deciding what we want to do. Getting up to this level, that'd be a lot of work. So I will say it's going to take a lot of pressure for the Dixie to get that high. It's also going to take a lot of work to get back up and start heading back down towards $98. So keep your eyes on the Dixie. It'll be interesting to watch what happens there. Let's head back over to Bitcoin though, and let's evaluate what's happening. I'm not going to update you guys too much. I still am sitting here with more of a slightly bullish outlook than a bearish one. I just told you guys, until we end up breaking either one of these green lines, I'm not necessarily too concerned. Like, even if we come back down once again, I'm still looking at this as level of, like, I think people got surprised yesterday, or not yesterday, 2 days ago. I think people got surprised when we did not get the hawkish response from the Fed. And for those reasons, we're kind of sitting here in a space where we're not taking off to the upside, but we're also not dropping very quickly. And what this has actually allowed us to do when we start looking at some of the oscillators, yes, on the daily chart, Luxago oscillator is telling us we're still overbought at the moment, but it also was preparing for a more hawkish news. Our RSI is resetting, and I love what I'm seeing here, and it's very slight, but it is happening, is that we are not setting new lows, and yet the RSI is dropping. Could this be preparing us for a downside? It could, but it also might be just resetting the RSI, getting us back to a level where it's going to be easier to move to the upside. When we start moving down the charts here, we're getting into more of a neutral zone here on the RSI. We're kind of hovering around the 50, which means anything is possible. Well, if I'm just looking at charts, I kind of been sitting in a 50-50 boat where I'm saying, all right, we could move to the upside, could move to the downside. It's when I bring in that news. It's when I bring in there's more bullish things happening. First of all, Jerome Powell sounded dovish. Second of all, despite the fact that we're getting close to being done with our interest rate hikes, the job market is still so strong. These are reasons to be more in the camp of bullish for now until something comes and ruins the party. What could that be? Well, on February 14th, the next time we get inflation numbers, that could be a poop on the party because inflation looks like it's getting back out of control. That's when I think a dip could come if it's going to come next. Let's take a look at a couple other things here. I want to pull up our, let's see what is here. I don't even know. Let's look at the Bollinger Bands because obviously here we're going to be probably moving towards constriction. We did break out just slightly. I can go ahead and take my oscillators down. We did break out just slightly, and the 4-hourly chart is starting to come back together to constrict, but we're not necessarily in a spot where we're constricting very heavily. Hourly chart's doing the exact same thing. Watch over the next I would say 12 hours as the Bollinger Bands on the hourly chart continue to constrict. A breakout should come. The question is, will it be strong enough to get us above or below the green? I'm not necessarily too certain that that is going to happen. Yeah, so right now, not a lot new happening on Bitcoin. We'll keep you guys posted. Even though this is the last show of the week, I will be over there in Discord, continue to update you guys on things I see on the chart. So if you guys want to know more, make sure to go check us out over there. Let's move on and look at what is happening with Ethereum. Ethereum, of course, is one that had a nice green day yesterday, and you guys see that massive green wick, and it's coming back down to earth. And today is starting out red. But as long as we're staying above this ascending level of support, I'm still bullish on Ethereum. Like we talked about yesterday, I'm watching for a $2,000 view for Ethereum again to match those highs back in August, but the level separating us, watch out for 1855 up to about 19. There is some resistance right in there that could stop us from going there. Let's look at what's happening with the RSI. So this is cool. You guys saw on Bitcoin, we're starting to come back down below 70. That's really awesome, kind of resetting. Ethereum has already been there. Ethereum's been below 70 now for a while. So it's sitting in a nice prime spot on the RSI to make another push, despite the fact that, yes, the RSI is moving to the downside slowly but surely as the price is still climbing up. This is almost more of like a resetting again. This is an awesome ability for Ethereum potentially to make another push. And just in case you guys are wondering, even when you're looking at these Luxago oscillators and you're saying, but Tim, look down there, look at that red cloud, we're still overbought, it's time to reverse. This happens a lot when we see things like that happen. Let's go back and look at some things out here that we had. Well, I got to pull that back up. But let's look at a couple times that we got overextended over here. For example, let's just flip it. If I was doing nothing but looking at this oscillator, back here in May, I would have been looking right here. We're overextended on the RSI. We're overextended on the Luxago oscillator. It's flashing oversold, oversold, oversold. Go ahead and go buy. Well, guess what? Because we kind of moved sideways waiting for the next news cycle, and this one was this wouldn't have been FTX. This would have been, what was the travesty right before that? Was that
Luna?
No, Luna would have been this
right
one over here.
FTX?
This would have been, so Terra Luna, and then we had Celsius. This was Celsius, so we ended up getting another news story that drops us down. So we kind of ignored the fact that we had an oversold zone coming up here. Same thing as I'm looking and watching on Ethereum and Bitcoin and Cardano, these levels over here saying that we're overbought and it's time to go back down. Well, guess what? I don't know if we're overbought. I think, again, the way the money was flowing, I'll say this one more time, I'll probably say it again in future videos. The way the money was flowing was, all right, let's pump up into the FOMC meeting where we'll get our bearish or our hawkish response from Jerome Powell, and then we'll be able to take our profits and go to the downside. Well, that's not what we got. So I'm looking at this indicator right here and saying, I don't know if I'm a big believer in it, and especially watching our RSI reset and come back down, I'm still in the camp of thinking a little bit more bullish. So that's all I have for you guys with Ethereum. Let's take a look. Cardano is down this morning right as we speak, but let's go and look at this chart over here. There's some levels that I'm keeping my eyes on. We did get up into my zone that I was talking about of between 40 cents to 43 cents. We just kind of pricked into it, though. I'd like to see us get up there a little bit more, but the same thing is kind of happening with it. The RSI is still resetting. MACD did just cross bearish, so that is something to keep your eyes on with the MACD. But that happens quite frequently. The fact that we're back above, we haven't been this high with the MACD ever since all the way back in April. I'm not necessarily too concerned about what the MACD is saying right there either. I'm still bullish on Cardano. Some levels potentially to keep your eyes on with Cardano, though, if we were to pull back. Let's just go down to here. I think as long as we stay above 36 cents, there's not too much that I'm worried about when it comes to bearishness. I'm just telling you guys can do whatever you want with your crypto. I'm not in a spot where I want to take profit just yet. I really was planning on taking profit on almost all of my crypto. Not my HODL portfolio, but some of the ones that I keep open for trades. But after what Jerome Powell says, I'm not. And so if we drop below 36, maybe I'll get a little more concerned about Cardano. But I need to see a lot more change in the news and the charts before I make that type of a call. Let's take a look at what's happening over on AVAX just really quickly. It's so minor. Even though it's the biggest loser of the day, it's just such a small candle. Not really anything of significance happening there. Let's go over here. I think I have more information on this chart. Yeah, so we ended up coming right here, getting very close to the breakout point I was talking about in this falling wedge pattern. Didn't quite touch $23 just yet, but we got very close. So watch for us to continue to push through on AVAX. Not that worried, even though we had a dip. Same thing's happening with oscillators right down here. RSI is resetting. Let's go on the 4-hourly chart and see if anything special is happening. I know this is probably not the technical analysis you guys all wanted. It's not necessarily interesting. Even though we're having some dips, the charts are all the same that we've seen over the last couple of days. This is just a normal part of a rally, is that you have your rallies, you have your fallbacks. Nothing special happened there. I think I'm going to go ahead and just stop right there, T-Shroom, and not waste any more time with technical analysis. If something spicy happens, we'll go back to it while we're live. Otherwise, you guys can see more charts over in the Discord. I'll just regroup for anyone who joined late. The biggest one of today that you should be looking at, though, is the Dixie. This is the one that's getting more attention. It's rallying back up. We broke former support, got back above it, and now we're looking at some levels above us that potentially we could have a little more of a push to the upside on the Dixie, and that's what's going to bring some bearish pressure over to crypto. T-Shroom, I'm going to go ahead and let's jump in. Let's maybe do a story. Let's engage with chat just a little bit before our stock market opens. Did you see anything of interest in chat while I was going on with technical analysis?
Yes, I did, Tim. And that was Elo Brown said, let's go to chat, show the bros some love, and smash the like button. So Elo with the early prediction. And then he also asked a little earlier on, T-Shroom, can we get your best army joke on Friday? And considering today's Friday, I will show you guys an army joke that I found funny, a meme, so to speak. And then also I'll tell a story, an army story, very, very briefly. So here we go. Here's the meme. What is a military officer who uses the bathroom often? Tim, you got any guesses? Don't look.
What is the military officer that uses the bathroom often?
Yeah.
Private duty? I don't know.
Nice. A lieutenant.
Oh.
Funny stuff. Okay, so here's the Army story. I'll make this brief. So at basic training, all the guys are in the bunks together at night, on bunk beds. And one night, it didn't happen in my barrack, but in another barrack, this kid who I'll just say probably just barely passed the intelligence test. Okay, and he was very annoying to everybody. And one night, a bunch of the guys got together and bleached his boots and poured a bunch of bleach in them. And he woke up the next day and went to put his foot in the boots, and I guess he got a little bit burned. And so the drill sergeants were notified, and they let us have it. The entire platoon was doing push-ups for hours and hours, and it was miserable. They made us put on our weighted vests, and it was all because a bunch of idiots got together. And it was a serious health risk. I mean, guys, I don't know if you've ever been exposed to bleach on your skin. It's not fun. I haven't, but it was definitely not. I mean, it was funny after the fact, but it wasn't funny when I was doing my 80th push-up for the morning before I had breakfast. So that's going to be our morning Army story there, which is fun. I appreciate that, Elo Brown, for giving the opportunity for me to share some of my experiences. That is just one of many, many crazy experiences. Well, we've got a couple minutes here until market opens, so why don't we go ahead and just check out our crypto headlines, because we're not going to spend too much time on those. We're going to start, though, with a good bullish reminder this morning that the Fear and Greed Index is 60, so it's in the greed. So make sure that you're taking profits. Make sure that you're not falling victim to greed as we start to tick into this greed season, hopefully the start of a bear market. But who knows? That's kind of the theme of our show so far today, is like, well, we're looking like it's looking good. We're looking like we're getting a green light here, but are we completely out of the woods? Maybe not. Like Tim said, we still got that February 14th inflation print. We don't want to see sticky inflation coming out of that. That could potentially motivate the Fed to go back into 50 basis point hikes or into potentially 70 if it's really bad. So there's a couple of things to watch before we're out of the woods completely. But one of the good things here is the Fear and Greed Index is taking in a favorable direction.
So I think.
Go ahead, Tim.
I think
go ahead. Well, I wanted to hear what you had to say about that.
I don't, because I've heard you say that before. I'm going to disagree with you, T-Shirt. That's not favorable. It is not a good thing to be in greed on Fear and Greed Index. Okay. So traditionally, especially when you're looking at like what we're kind of the prices we're at right now, traditionally greed is a level that a lot of smart money traders are going to go ahead and say, let's take some profit.
Yeah.
It's when you're in fear that you want to buy. I mean, that's like what the Warren Buffett quote is, and I think someone else said it first, but I'm going to say Warren Buffett said it. It's so you buy when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own.
Right.
So the traditional way that you should be looking at Fear and Greed Index is if it is moving to the right and you're getting greedy, that's a bad sign. Now, I'm not saying sell because of that. There's so much. You shouldn't only buy and sell based off the Fear and Greed Index. But what I will say, go to my screen real quick.
You want me to go to your screen?
I do want you to go to my screen.
All right, go ahead. You're good.
So we're at a 60 right now, right? The price of Bitcoin is sitting at 20, and this is last night. But let's just even say, let's go all the way up to the peak here. Let's say that we printed this 60 when we were up at 23,800. All right. Let's scroll down here. Let's go to a year. Have we even been? We have not even been this high in the year, but the highest point back on March 28th when we were at 60. So I guess what I'm saying is we were at 61 or something the other day. The last time we were at 60 a long time ago was March 28th. Let's look at the price and let's look at what happened the last time we hit 60. Again, I'm not using only 60 as the as saying, oh, we're on a 60 for the Fear and Greed Index, therefore you should do what happened last time. But let's go back to March 28th. This was my birthday. Back in 2022, and guess what? It's my birthday every single year. We were all the way up at 48,000. So the last time we were at a 60 on Fear and Greed Index, we were sitting more than 25,000. Well, I guess it's right at $25,000 higher, and that was a pinpoint that we had climbed back up to 60. You guys can go back here and look at the charts. Let's go to max and kind of look at what's happening. We got really, really low. started climbing. Let's see, where was this? It's actually back here. We were really low back in early March, made our climb up to 60, and then that was the rejection point. Same thing. This was when we had just had a dip from all-time high. People were kind of in disagreement. Is this the bear market? Is this just a pullback? Is this just like a normal pullback before we hit a new all-time high? And people got really excited at that 48,000, and of course that was the peak, and we ended up moving to the downside, and that was all before, just so you guys know, we moved down well before the Luna news came out. This drop right here is the Terra Luna news. We still had come back down even after that point. So what's my point here? What is your point? What is my point? The fear and greed index should be utilized as more of a cautionary or optimistic zone. I'm not saying 60 is high. For me, it's when we get like over here. It's when we get over into like the 70s, 80s, 90s. That's what I'm saying. Like, hey, I'm not liking what this is looking at all. I think I'm going to sell. When you're over here sitting at the 10, 8, 7 on the fear, that's when you should be saying, I'm very optimistic right now. I want to buy. But when you flash over into greed and you're looking at the fact that we're sitting at very low numbers and we're still in the greed, to me, that's not the positive sign. Again, it's not my main indicator. I'm not going to use that as my only reason to trade or not. But my point was I disagree, T-Shirt. I think this is a bad sign. This is one of the things I would put in the bearish camp, that our greed index is sitting at 60.
Well, I appreciate that, Tim, because it helped us get to the market open, of which we are now going to go ahead and jump right on into, guys. Check this out. So getting some fresh data here. I'm going to start in big tech because this is really the ones to watch today. Amazon starting down 6%. So big sell-off in Amazon, and Meta selling off too. Meta, of course, you will note, had a gigantic gap yesterday. And now it is selling down from that. I have no weekly charts. Let's go to the daily charts. And as you can see here, so it's wicked up and it's actually holding on to those gains pretty well. We'll see how long it's able to do that and stay up above this wick at 180 even. Pretty good psychological number there. If it can stay above that, man, this thing might start to get bought through the rest of February pretty aggressively. So it's to keep an eye on that. My guess, though, is that there's going to be too much gravity, too much buying pressure for this thing. I think people are jumping on the puts train, buying up puts, and that is going to spook people who were thinking about taking a longer position there in Meta. All right, so also let's not leave too quickly, because Apple also had some pretty dismal earnings yesterday. Pretty dismal. Some people were saying it was the historically worst earnings report ever from Apple. But as you can see, it is remaining up above its 200-day moving average in the early minutes of the New York session here. So that's pretty good. And it's pumping a little bit higher here as we speak, really only down 0.6%. So this is somewhat reassuring to me. I'm not super surprised by any of this movement except for Amazon. I'm a little bit surprised because they actually beat their earnings, as we'll see in just a second, and it has returned all the way back down. So the narrative that was in the market yesterday is printing in reverse, at least here in the first initial minutes of the New York session. But let's go ahead and look at bonds. Wow, okay, so this is telling the truth. This is saying it plainly here. You're seeing the bond yields come really, really high. The 5-year up 4.3%. Really, really interesting here, guys, as bonds, there's interest wanes in bonds and those yields having to come up. Let's take a look at the Dixie here, guys. Extremely important. Dixie getting some big green candles this morning. Potentially could be the reason why you see some money stay on the sidelines and not cycle back into the market as the dollar grows stronger. Cannabis and mid-cap stocks, those higher risk stocks selling off, including Coinbase, which is the new addition to my portfolio and a new addition to this mid-cap stock watch list. So let's take a look at that here, guys. Yeah, it's opening up significantly lower, coming in at the mid-range of yesterday's candle, which gapped up and met all the way up to 83.75. Hadn't seen that since, man, you have to really scroll back to see that price history. Hadn't seen that since, goodness gracious, all the way back in August 18th of 2022. So Coinbase getting some huge bullish momentum, but needing to retest lower before it can go higher from that. You're seeing money cycle back into security, as we saw the opposite happen yesterday. So your oil producers are saying that plainly here, with Schollenberger up 1.8 and ExxonMobil up 1.2. Let's go ahead and check out the indexes, guys. We didn't start there. We usually just start with energy, but let's go to the indexes and see what's going on there. Just as you could predict, The Dow is leading remaining unsold. It's being able to retain as much of the cash as it can here, and the Nasdaq is selling off the heaviest. That's probably the best way to say it. That money is rotating out of risk, out of the Nasdaq, and in onto the sidelines at a higher rate than the Dow. So folks are feeling more confident in those higher security names. Let's see what's happening in energy. Energy, pretty flat for energy on the day. To be honest, these numbers are usually higher in one direction or another, but let's go ahead and take a look at natural gas. Not really doing much, but just continuing to inch lower here in the early minutes. And let's take a look at oil, as it is correcting nicely too. So it's now down, it was down below yesterday. It was down below the 76.30 price point, and now it is climbing back up to try to reclaim that. My guess is that it will not be successful today, but that's what everybody will be watching. Can oil close up above this major line of what is now resistance, because it passed down through it and close lower? Can it now reclaim that as support? I doubt it. Let's keep looking though at crypto. We'll finish off crypto and then we'll go into the crypto stories, and then we'll head into the stock stories, of which will obviously be the earnings reports of Apple and Google and Amazon. But let's go ahead and before we go do that, let's go ahead and take a little snapshot here. Looks like Binance is leading the way of the top coins, and then Atom is leading the way of this watch list in general for crypto, up 4.16%, guys. So it was down yesterday while the rest of the market was up. It was kind of healing from a giant run up to the upside. Yeah, so you look at this candle that we had on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So there was a sell-off after that candle on Wednesday, and now it's kind of regaining those and leading the market today pretty strongly. So that's really, really encouraging to see. But you're also seeing BNB and Cake, which is a BNB spinoff, doing really, really well. So that's good to see, because those are ones I'm invested in, just to say plainly. Also added XLM yesterday to my portfolio. I think that it'll be really good to see that as it becomes perhaps integral to an international remittance program through SWIFT, and or something like that. Remittance and program through SWIFT, I should say, not necessarily working together on those. And then Uniswap, also another one that I added yesterday. Both of those are down, so not too bad. But I drew my strategy here on Coinbase pretty well, and I did it on the weekly candles, so that's why it's all crazy like this. But I kind of anticipate maybe a run up, which we're not getting. So we're seeing probably this happen a little earlier. But what I'm kind of thinking is you'll get maybe a retest here of this simple moving average, the 200-day, and then it'll resume to the upside. And I want to buy more here. That's going to be my target position. Buy probably down here at 63, somewhere around there. I don't know if it'll go down that low, but gaps do usually get filled, and there's a nice one right there to be filled. The other thing here is I bought already into Coinbase, but I'm thinking more than likely I'm going to be able to get it at a lower position there. So let's go ahead and jump to Tim. Did you have anything?
Yeah, my opinion on the market as a whole, I'm a little more bullish right now than I am bearish. But I talked about this yesterday. I have levels I'm watching for. Bitcoin down, still around 21.6. I think Ethereum, I'm still looking in the 1300s. Cardano potentially going all the way back down towards 30. It could be a little higher than that. Actually, I think I said 31 the other day, but it could even be like around 36. My question is, do we just rally a little higher before? But part of what we're going to see over this next period, you know what? Let me do this. This is a free flowing show.
Let's do it.
Let me kind of lay out for people what I'm kind of expecting the price action to look like, no matter what happens. So even like right now, I could even see us, like I said, coming down and retouching this green line, especially if that Dixie continues to gain support. I think we are going to see eventually, let's just pretend that ends up happening. I think we are going to see us break above, get to this 25. The question is, do we reject right here or do we break through? Let's just pretend for a second that we end up breaking through. All right. Let's say we end up doing this. We're going to move a little bit. We're going to come up, hit our head around 28.4. That's a level I put there before. We're going to start dropping back down. And then I think we're coming back down eventually, and we're going to be touching this red line right here that I'm looking at around 21,600. Guess what? That was a former peak that we had back here in November of 2022. This is what happens. I think I would not be surprised to watch us for the rest of the year end up actually kind of just moving sideways in this zone, maybe slowly setting higher highs and higher lows. I think potentially what you're going to see until maybe late 2023, if not early 2024, we're going to see the price. Come on, marker. Come on back for me. We're going to see the price kind of bounce right in here. And then as we're getting later, that's when we might start to see a breakout happen. Maybe late 2023, early 2024, make our way back up and do whatever we want to do up here. I'm expecting us to not do anything necessarily too quickly and watch for another good rise and another good dip. The question is which one happens first, and then the rise start to happen again later on in the year. It's going to be a very slow and frustrating year for people. I saw a lot of people commenting about $30,000 price. Saw some people even talking about 48. There was a prediction made by one analyst saying that he thinks we can end the year at 48,000, and absolutely we could do that. But I think that excites people, and there's almost this emotional attachment to it, and then they act like it should happen by tomorrow, and that's just not going to happen. There's going to be days of frustration. There's going to be some days that we think that Bitcoin's going to take over, and then other days you start to question everything about the market altogether, and that's all part of what we're going to see. But again, I'm not going to be surprised if we both see a $28,000 Bitcoin here very soon, and then shortly after we end up seeing about a 21.6. So if anyone's sitting here wondering, hey, Tim, what should we be expecting? Do we think do we have to buy in right now because this is absolutely, we're never going to see 23,000 ever again? That's not the answer. I think we will see it again. I think we'll see lower numbers. The question is, do we set a new low? That's where I'm kind of saying I don't think we set a new one. I do think that we're going to be setting a higher low here very soon, and 21.6 looks very juicy to me. That's kind of where I'm going to, the next time I go to buy in a Bitcoin, 21.6 is my spot.
Tight. Well, Gia S is in the chat.
Yes,
and
she is.
Tim, maybe you can kind of read in and see exactly. She's dropping some updates. So while I go through the crypto news, maybe we can get an update from her afterwards. So let's go ahead and jump back into the crypto headlines here, and we'll start off with Ray Dalio. It says fiat is in jeopardy, but Bitcoin and stablecoins aren't the answer either. So the hedge fund manager instead wants to see an inflation-linked coin be brought to the masses, which would serve to ensure customers secure their buying power. So really interesting there. That's kind of a novel concept. I will definitely be doing a lot of study on that, maybe even see a video about that one. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that actually now that I'm thinking about it, because that's a really interesting. Moving along though, MicroStrategy says no plans to stop trading BTC as paper losses hit 1.3 billion. So they haven't sold yet, but that's their losses at this point. Really interesting there. Now let's keep moving. Logan Paul faces rug pull class action lawsuit over crypto zoo NFTs. Maybe there's some details to get into there. Tim, what you think?
Yeah, I think it's been a roller coaster of a last couple of months for old Logan Paul. Is it a whole publicity stunt? Is he just wanting his name to get back in? He's a person I've known about for a very long time, and a lot of times I've gone through periods of my life where I forget that he exists as a human being, and then something pops up and he's back in the news. Just a month ago, he was suing CoffeeZilla for defamation, and that got dropped, and now there's lawsuits coming at him. I don't know. After watching a lot of this stuff, I don't know if I would say that he purposely rug pulled anyone. He definitely made some very sketchy hires that ruined a lot of things, and he's gonna have to pay the consequences. Whether that's a lawsuit or whether that's just an embarrassment to his name, we shall see. But it's very interesting to keep going and seeing what happens there. I'm not a strong NFT guy to begin with. I am learning. I am growing. I think 2023 is the year that Tim finally owns an NFT. But Crypto Zoo will not be one of them. Not only did it come like a rug pull, this is a light show today. One of the funniest stories I saw, and maybe this is fake, but I found it hilarious. The promise of Crypto Zoo, for those who don't know, was that it's an animal thing. So it's NFTs, you buy animals, but then it's a game where you can mate to animals, and you can create a brand new animal. And if you ever listen to Logan Paul describe it, he's like, this is going to be super cool. It's like the next Pokemon, and it's going to look so real. Like, where could you mix like a lion and a zebra and make it look like an actual animal existed and not look cartoonish? And so it had a lot of promise. But there was this guy I saw complaining because he got a butterfly and a pug. So those were his two animals. He had them breed. And the picture that he had, and I wish I could find it, but I don't have. I didn't know I was going to tell the story until like literally 2 minutes ago. The picture that he got was just a pug with a butterfly backpack on. It was not creative. It was pretty hilarious. And maybe that's a fake story. I don't know, but it cracked me up. Long story short, Logan Paul is going to have to deal with that. And hopefully this is a good message to other large influencers out there who are just chasing clout. Not necessarily I'm not going to accuse him of only doing that. I think he has a nice business structure with some other stuff he has going on. But hopefully this is a warning sign to other influencers. Don't just jump into the crypto space thinking it's an easy buck and then get out. If you rug pull people and if you steal from people, the lawsuits will come at you. So think twice before you come into the crypto space and create a bogus project. So
was it this one, Tim?
No, but that's pretty stinking close. I mean, that's the equivalency of what it was.
Maybe like that.
I mean, that's a plush toy, but yeah.
Yeah, you're a plush toy. All right, let's move on to our stories here, and all in good fun here. We jest. All right, so let's go back. So Logan Paul story, and then Orin Protocol suffers $3 million hack due to third-party vulnerabilities. Definitely not great there. I'm not super familiar with the Orin Protocol, but if you are, you definitely want to be knowing about that. MasterCard's NFT lead exits, selling resignation letter as NFT, which is pretty interesting. The payment giant's former product lead for the NFTs said he was a victim of harassment and emotional distress. Nothing that I would want to experience, that's for sure. So he's out of there and seeking alternative employment. Russia's Sberbank will introduce DeFi platform by May, says a report. The bank's blockchain product director believes DeFi will one day replace traditional banking services. So Russia getting on board here with some DeFi services, but probably not going to be something that you would be interested in investing in. Maybe though, I don't know. Maybe this is kind of the thing that you look for. So Klimenko, who was speaking in front of the Economic Congress on Friday, added that DeFi can displace traditional banking services in the future. This is not SureBank's first foray into crypto. Last March, it received a license from Russia's central bank to issue and exchange digital assets, and a few months before, it had launched Russia's first blockchain exchange traded fund ETF. So, sure, Sberbank definitely one to watch in the Russian crypto story there. India reveals IMF is working with G20 for crypto regulation. So this is a pretty big story here for sure. Definitely want to keep an eye on that one. That could be have some pretty big implications. Although this would probably take place in the future, and hopefully the United States Congress can pass some good common sense regulation and some good guidelines for crypto before this would take place. But it says there's going to be a 135-minute seminar on crypto assets on the policy response during the G20 later this month. And for that, again, the IMF is preparing a finalized paper that will form the base of that regulation. I don't wait till regulation comes into place for taxing people who are earning profits. I don't wait till, so there's all kinds of different stuff they've got planned here, but the IMF definitely not the hands that we want crypto regulation to ultimately be originating from. And then Optimism chain, the layer 2 that we mentioned in the teaser at the beginning. This is a tweet from them. The Optimism Foundation has proposed the first protocol upgrade to the Optimism Collective Bedrock, and you can see the proposal there at gov.optimism.io. You can read about it for yourself. But that sent that sent the coin way higher. I believe it was up 20%. So pretty crazy stuff there. Well, let's go ahead and shift on into the stock market, and we'll start with the non-farm payrolls. So the non-farm actual print was 517, and that was forecasted 185K. That's insane how far off that is. So that'll be interesting to see how the market interprets that. But the unemployment rate came in pretty bullish for the overall economy, but could potentially, and it's becoming less and less of a narrative. It's really waned quite significantly, the unemployment rate in the mind of Jerome Powell. and how that could potentially affect his decisions going forward. But that is overall bullish for the economy. Obviously, you want to see an unemployment rate, that's low. And so it was forecasted 3.6. The print was 3.1 or 3.4. I'm sorry. And then also we just got some fresh data here. The S&P Global Composite PMI final was just above forecast.
What is that?
Let's read and find out. In the United States, Market Composite PMI Output Index tracks business trends across both manufacturing and service sectors, 60% from the manufacturing, 40% from the service. The index is based on data collected from a representative panel of over 1,000 companies and follows variables such as sales, new orders, employment, inventories, and prices. A read above 50 indicates expansion in business activity, while 50 points to contract. Below 50 would be a contraction. So, so technically we're contracting here, and we're contracting at a slightly less rate than what was forecasted. So, I suppose that's bullish, and we're also moving higher, moving back towards that 50 mark from the previous print. So overall, that would be bullish, I'd say, although we want to see that number get back above 50. How that plays into the larger Fed narrative, though, because I know that Jerome was really harping on the fact that non-housing services, the pricing in that industry is one of the things that is keeping inflation from going back to the target rate of 2. Guys, we're going to go ahead and jump ahead here. Nordstrom shares jump after meme stock activist investor Ryan Cohen builds a stake in that stock. So you can go read about that on Zero Hedge. That's a pretty interesting one if you're looking for another meme stock to get involved with there. I doubt Nordstrom is going to go full meme on this one because there's still a ton of value in that name. It's not like AMC or GameStop. But that's definitely something that I'm going to be keeping my eye on. I like to trade the meme stocks here and there. Not very often, though. But let's keep moving. This was a little bit of a bearish. This is probably the most bearish chart I've seen in just the market in a while. This is comparing the reserves balance sheet to U.S. equity market cap. And as you can see here, going back to 2020, there has not been much discorrelation in this historical chart. And now you can see at present, there is quite a bit of a spread. And what's being predicted here is that the U.S. equity market cap is going to have a sell-off, meaning where that money would go into the Dixie, go into the dollar. Perhaps it would go into bonds and maybe some other markets, but more than likely just sell off into the dollar.
The only thing I'm looking at here, T-Stream, pull it back up. So go to your screen, pull it back up.
Yeah.
All right, so look back here at right after December of 2020, I think that is. There's a little bit, so go down just a little bit to the left, right there. Oh. You guys see, there's a split that happens back there.
Yeah.
And I guess that's probably going to be about January of 2021, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Is what that is implying. Kind of a similar thing there where it split, went opposite directions, but the price kept going to the upside, and then the balance had to catch up. Different scenario. That one, it was already moving to the upside. This one, we're moving to the downside. But there's a lot, I think, that needs to be unpacked here. So you guys, I'm a technical analyst, so I love looking at charts, but I love context to charts too, because sometimes people just post charts and they're like, oh, well, this is happening, so therefore automatically bullish or automatically bearish. It's like, well, can we get some context in there as well?
Little context would be nice.
And then is there ever a time, like, is this something that happens every single time they diverge like this, that automatically there's going to be a massive pullback in equities? Or are there examples of this kind of splitting off and it not being a bad thing? And so that's I would love to look more into that chart before I would make any type of doom or gloom prediction based off of it.
For sure. Well, that was from your boy over at Zero Hedge, who posted that one. We'll keep moving along. He said stretchy, so stretchy. He wasn't making some kind of crazy big warning claim or anything. Just kind of a little passive little poke there for the market to remember that there are still bears looming. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of what's moving the market today, and we'll check in really quickly with the market right before we leave, and I'll do that pretty much after this story. But let's look at the earnings reports. So Apple was forecasted to come in at 1.94 in the fourth quarter, and it came in at 1.88. So that's a miss, and it's a historic miss. I don't think that Apple has missed by that wide of a margin in a long time. And that's the EPS. The revenue was forecasted for 121.88, and it came in at 117. So not great there at all. And then Google also missed, but by a definitely a shorter and more narrow margin there on revenue, coming in forecasted at 76 and 7 cents or 0.07, sorry, but the print was 76.05 billion. So and then also missed on EPS, and then Amazon it had a pretty wide margin here, pretty wide miss on EPS, and but its revenue came in higher than forecasted, which was good. And it was, pretty robustly higher, I'd say. So, but it's interesting because what you're seeing is actually kind of the reverse of what you'd think. Was like Amazon is actually the one selling off the heaviest. Apple's actually in the green, up almost 1%, up 0.8, and then Google selling off 2.9, almost 3%. So, we'll have to see exactly why the market is interpreting it in that way. Tesla up almost 4%, and Meta making a move into the green here pretty strongly, up almost 4% itself after having a monster day. So building, look at that. That's quite a candlestick right there. Check that out. Mm-hmm. So almost back up to the tip of its wick there from yesterday's trading candle. Love to see that for Meta. Looks like investors are going ahead and piling into that name, as Zuckerberg was pretty successful yesterday in reassuring the public of what was going on over there. And I believe their earnings came out Wednesday, which is why it wasn't on that chart that I just had up. But Tesla also making a push higher. This was one that I added to my portfolio as well. So let's go back and let's finish out our TradFi, our stock stories. Eli Lilly, its earnings was pretty good EPS wise, but it missed on revenue, and I'm not going to go much further down from there. But you can definitely go check that out for yourself, and I encourage you to keep abreast of everything that's going on in the stock market because it is important. And then here it breaks down specifically Amazon's advertising business grew 19%, while Google and Meta both deal with slowdowns. So again, what we're seeing on the charts today is bucking the expectation of what yesterday's media was anticipating. So as you can see here, Amazon's advertising business continued to grow despite a general slowdown. The online retailer's advertising service per unit brought in $11.6 billion in sales in the fourth quarter, representing a 19% year-over-year increase, according to earnings report on Thursday. And then the Meta executives explained on Wednesday during a call with analysts that they didn't see an immediate rebound in the digital advertising market coming anytime soon. Sad face. Suzanne Lee, the chief financial officer, said, consistent with our expectations, Q4 revenue remained under pressure from weak advertising demand, and we believe continued to be impacted by the uncertain volatility of the macroeconomic landscape. Meanwhile, Alphabet on Thursday reported fourth quarter advertising revenues of $59.04 billion, a slowdown from $61.24 billion in the earlier quarter. So a slowdown there for Alphabet, and a lot of that was in credit to YouTube getting its market share eroded by TikTok, which brought in $7.96 billion in the fourth quarter, representing an 8% drop from a year ago. So all across the board, you are seeing kind of weakness and softening in the big tech stocks there, but a lot of them are getting bought. This, at least in the first half hour of trading on the New York Stock Exchange. We'll see if that trend continues, but there they are, guys. Let's take a look really quickly before we kind of zoom out and wrap up the show. Let's take a look at the indexes, and they are all bleeding this morning, red on the screen. And the Dow giving up the least. So you are seeing a rotation out of risk faster than out of security there. So always important to remember. Quick peek here at oil, which is kind of gaining ground here as it, again, tries to push up above that line of what was support and is now resistance. It's trying to reclaim that line as support. Well, that's all I've got for you today. Obviously, guys, the big news is that the earnings report has put a wet blanket on what was a firing hot bull market, and perhaps it was for better. Perhaps it was for better. Perhaps what we needed. I'm seeing Crypto Vet in the chat, so what's up to you, my man, Crypto Vet? But I'm going to throw it back over to Tim to close out the show. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I know we don't talk about stocks a whole lot, but yesterday's news was very important, and we definitely want to keep an eye on that because Bitcoin ultimately has a strong correlation with the NASDAQ, and that hasn't given up too much quite yet. So, Tim?
Absolutely. Yeah, a little bit slower of a day, but guess what? Sometimes it's nice to have a nice big breath day and say, all right, let's just kind of take a step back and not freak out or try to do anything crazy. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be talking more crypto, talking more stocks. Make sure you guys don't miss, again, tomorrow, that video is coming out. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it, the treat for being here and staying here all the way to the end. The video is going to be called My Dog Trades Crypto Better Than You.
Ooh.
And for anyone who's in our Discord, you guys will get a sneak peek before the rest of the masses. Did you already post it in the Discord?
Yeah, it's in the general. It's in the general chat. You can go watch it right now.
Yeah.
And I even said you can share it. So you can share the link, maybe not on social media, but you can share it with people. I guess you could do it on social media too, but that will officially be going out tomorrow, probably around 3 or 4 p.m. on Saturday. So you guys can feast your eyes. Do you think we should release it in the morning?
I think noon. I think we should do it around noon.
Do it around noon?
Let people sleep in. Even the West Coast, the Matt C's and the others of the world out in Cali, you guys can sleep in. You get to wake up at 9 a.m. and then watch that. It's going to be good. And if it takes off, we're definitely going to be doing a lot more content just like that. But guys, make sure you're joining that Discord for some great updates. I told you guys there wasn't a lot to cover on charts. Bitcoin is rallying back up. It's at 23.5 now. We might talk more about that over in Discord, so make sure you're a part of that. I also wanted to say, we saw Gia S in chat. And here's something else. We kind of close out not only this show, but we close out the weekend. I just want to reiterate, as excited as I am about crypto and as excited I am about investing and changing, my financial future and helping others change their financial future as well, the whole purpose that we have a channel in the first place is to build community and to be there for one another. And this is a great opportunity when one of us is down, the others rally up and we help serve and love on and pray for others. And Gia S, I'm hearing some good news, it looks like. It looks like things are turning. For those who don't know, her daughter was admitted to the hospital, very serious condition. There was moments there where Gia confided in some of her friends. She said, I didn't know. It's a very scary thing. And I can tell you this, I'm not a parent yet, but here in 4 months I will be. And I can only imagine the feeling of looking at your child in a hospital bed and not knowing what's going to happen. So this is a great moment as we wrap up this weekend, just to hug someone close to you, get close to those who love you and that you love. Reach out. This is a community we're building. Reach out to each other. Check on each other all the time. Because what good is it if we make millions of dollars, but we lose each other in the process? We love you guys. We will see you on Monday. We'll see you over in Discord. You guys have a great weekend. Adios.